This week on Indiana Drones, we have the epic showdown. It's the David versus the Goliath, the M600 versus the M210 LiDAR drone. In this corner, we have the LiAirV LiDAR sensor equipped on the DJI M210. And in this corner is the Riegl LiDAR on the M600. Who's gonna win? Stay tuned and find out for the epic showdown of the two LiDAR drones. All right, the rules of the competition are as follows. We're going to be flying both LiDAR drones using the exact same flight plan. That's the same AGL above ground level and the same flight speed. Then we're going to be judging the winner based on these four criteria. The first criteria is how many points per square meter are we getting on an unobstructed surface like a road or pavement. The second criteria is how many points per square meter are we getting underneath a densely vegetated area. The fourth criteria is the overall accuracy of these points. We'll be judging that based on 3 different locations in the data set. And then the fourth criteria is the overall operability and ease of use of the system. So with that being said, let's go ahead and meet our contenders. So right here we have the M600 drone. It's got the 6 propellers for redundancy, so if one goes out, it still is going to maintain flight. Then on board it has the A3 flight controller, and this flight controller has triple redundant GPSs and also triple redundant IMU. And what that means is if one of those will fail, it automatically switches over to the next one and maintains the autopilot. It's got a large carrying capacity, so you can carry a larger LiDAR system like this Riegl, and then also it has 6 batteries. And the great thing about the 6 batteries, also again, redundancy, and then each individual battery is only 99 watt hours, and this is actually pretty important small detail if you're considering traveling with this system. With these batteries, you can fly on airplanes with them, so that's a huge plus in my book. Let's go ahead and get it up in the air. So right here we have the DJI M210 drone with an RTK system. It has an IP rating, so it's water resistant as well as dust resistant. It has the first person view camera integrated into it, as well as obstacle avoidance on the front and on the bottom. So that enables it to come in for safe landings and also has a longer flight time. All right, the gauntlet has been thrown and we're about to get ready to fly the M210 with the LiAirV. So just a few seconds, we're gonna be taking off, flying some calibrations, and then setting it off on its mission plan to map out this whole area. Alrighty, so we're up in the air right now. We're flying the M210, got the M600 behind me. I got eyes on the drone. It's going pretty good. So again, this is just the match right here. So we're flying the exact same flight plan for both drones. They're both doing terrain tracking. So we're following the terrain about 90 meters above the ground level. So this is gonna be a pretty fair comparison for the 2 different systems. It's gonna be cool. God, I love seeing it. It's coming up and over this hill now. That's gonna be a cool feature in the data. That hill right there, and then going down to the creek in the middle. All right, now we got the M600 with this Riegl on it. And right now I connected into it with my laptop. I have to do some configuration to the LiDAR before I can take off flying. Cool. So now we wait 5 minutes, we'll take off, start flying. And the suspense continues, the drama continues. Now we got the M600 in the air, and this is the moment where we're capturing the second LiDAR scan of this area. And this data, once you get home and process it, that's gonna really reveal a lot. We're gonna look at the point density. So how many points are you getting per square meter on the ground, as well as the accuracy. These are identical flight plans. And what we're doing is flying the same speed, same altitude, exact same lines. So we're gonna be able to look at how well that LiDAR is actually seeing the raw ground, the bare earth, with no foliage covering it. And that's something that's really cool about LiDAR. You can't do that with photogrammetry. Photogrammetry, got trees, can't get rid of them. LiDAR, see right through those trees, man. That's what's good about it. All right, so there we are. We just got back from the field. We flew both LiDAR drones. That's the M210 with the LiAirV and the M600 with the Riegl miniVUX on board. The exact same flight plan. That's the same above ground level and the same flight speed. It was the same flight plan. Now we're gonna go ahead and take the data off, process it, and jump right into the results. Okay, so this is our first look at that LiDAR data. Right now we have both LiDAR data sets side by side. On the right is the miniVUX on the M600, and on the left is the LiAirV LiVOX on the M210. So already we can just see they both look absolutely gorgeous, just beautiful data sets. And what we're looking at here, this is three-dimensional point cloud information. So the point cloud is X, Y, and Z. So this is three-dimensional information being shown to us. And both data sets look just gorgeous. And like I said, if we can flip the data set over, so now we're looking at from underneath the ground. And this is what I was talking about, that LiDAR data and penetrating the vegetation. So you can see, look at all these points on both data sets, looking at the bare earth underneath the trees. And you can see where the holes are in the trees from where the trunks are, and some things that really obstruct the ground. Now, the first criteria of our competition was how many points per square meter on an unobstructed surface. So to make this a totally fair game, what I've already done is I took all overlap out. So what we're looking at is a single strip of LiDAR data from each of the LiDARs, and we're gonna look at how many points per square meter we're getting with the same AGL and the same flight speed on an unobstructed surface. So let's go ahead and look at that LiDAR data. We're gonna zoom into this nice little road right here in the middle of the data set. This looks like a good spot right here. Okay, we're gonna select this tool. Now this tool is gonna tell us how many points per square meter, and we're gonna look at a 5 by 5 square meter area and do an average. So let's go ahead and click right here. So we're getting about 116 points per square meter on the Riegl miniVUX on the M600. Let's go ahead and look at the exact same location, but on the LiAirV. So with the LiAirV, on the same area, we're getting about 374 points per square meter. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at a few more locations. 291 versus 135. 231 versus 105. Well, okay, there we have it. On our first competition, we're seeing clearly that the LiVOX LiDAR and the LiAirV is getting almost double the points per square meter as compared to the Riegl. Now to the second part in our competition, we're going to look at the vegetation penetration of these two different LiDAR sensors. So to do that, the first thing I had to do was classify the LiDAR data set. What you're looking at here is all the LiDAR data classified into ground, low vegetation, medium vegetation, and high vegetation. So in this way, I'm able to actually remove all of the vegetation by just toggling off that layer. So there we go. Now this is what the data set looks like once you classify it and get rid of all the vegetation. Very impressive. Okay, let's find a couple areas where there's a lot of trees, take the trees off of it, and then see how many ground points we're getting from the two different LiDAR sensors. And turning all those off, boom. We just got the ground points underneath those trees. So you can see right here there's some missing spots in the data, and this is caused from things like a tree trunk. So right now we're looking at both LiDAR data sets stacked on top of each other. Let's go ahead and toggle off the Riegl LiDAR data. Now we're seeing only the LiVOX LiDAR data. If we go ahead and toggle the opposite and just look at only the Riegl data, that's what it looks like. And then now we're looking at the LiAirV LiVOX LiDAR data. So already we can clearly see there's a lot more points on the ground from that LiAirV LiVOX than the Riegl. Let's go ahead and zoom in and do a couple point density measurements. Okay, let's click right over here. That's at 12.7. Let's remember that spot, switch over. Now this is the LiAirV in the same location. About 15, it's a couple more points per square meter. Let's choose another location. That's 52 for the LiAirV LiVOX and only 15 for the Riegl. How about right over here? Let's get in this spot right there. 14 for the Riegl, only 4 for the LiVOX. So we can clearly see in several locations the LiVOX is actually getting more points onto that ground, whereas the Riegl is missing those points. And I'm going to attribute that to the fact that this is doing 100,000 points per second and they're all aimed directly at the ground. And this has that unique pattern, so it's getting a couple more angles, where a few more opportunities where a point could reach the ground. Whereas this is doing 100,000 points per second also, but it's spinning in a full 360 degrees, so most of those points are going up into the air or off to the side. And it's only going in that straight line. So that could be a good explanation of why we're seeing more holes filled in from the LiAirV compared to the Riegl. For this section, the winner looks like it is going to be the LiAirV, but this is speaking a little too much, and I think more research is needed for this, because we actually see some locations where the Riegl is getting ground points, where the LiAirV is not getting ground points. But as an overall, it kind of looks like there's less holes in the data from the LiAirV than from the Riegl. But this needs to be a little bit more done, so for this, I'm going to say they're a tie. All right, we're going to choose 3 locations to evaluate the relative accuracies of these two LiDARs. So in order to do that, I first colorize the point clouds by time, so that way we can discern the two data sets from each other, and I also got rid of all the overlap points. So this is only points in a single scan line, and we're going to be looking at the relative accuracy by just looking at the spread in the data. And this is just to see at a single point, what is the difference from the highest points and the lowest point to measure that same surface. Let's go ahead and look at that same section of road that we started out with. Okay, this looks like a pretty good area. So the brown points are the LiVOX, LiAirV, and then the colored blue points, these are the Riegl miniVUX LiDAR data points. We can see right away qualitatively that the Riegl miniVUX has a much more tight pattern of measurements. So let's go ahead and just measure that out. Okay, this is about 2.5 centimeters. That's pretty good. Even if we come all the way to this farthest extreme one, that's still about 4 centimeters. So if we look at the LiVOX in the exact same location, this is about 6 centimeters. Now looking at the worst case LiVOX over here, about 8 centimeters. So about 8 centimeters, the worst case, about 6 centimeters looks to be average. Let's look at the miniVUX again. Here's the worst case, it's about 5 centimeters. So that's in one location on a hard road. Let's go ahead and look at another location. Now right next to where we were flying from, there were some barrels, some big water storage tanks. So now the LiAirV is in red, and then the miniVUX, this is in blue and green. Now we're looking at the top of this barrel. Let's go ahead and grab this measure tool. Now, since this is an angled surface, we're going to be looking at the hypotenuse. This is about 7 centimeters, about 3 centimeters for the Riegl, about 7 centimeters for the LiAirV. For this third one, let's find an area of vegetation. Okay, so this area actually, this isn't the best place to be judging an accuracy measurement, but I just wanted to show you for the viewer so you have an idea about what the points look like up close on a vegetation area. So this, again, the red is the LiVOX, and now the blue is the LiAirV. And we're going to take a little measurements on this. This is a thin slice, so we're looking at points that are almost stacked right on top of each other. So they should be about the same. You can clearly see the red points have a very large spread to them. But this is in vegetation, and this could be from real effects because blades of grass, they can be tall, and then it can be penetrating that grass and hitting the ground. So there probably actually really is some spread to the data right there. Yeah, it's about 17 centimeters, and again, it might just be grass. But then looking at the Riegl, yeah, about 13 centimeters. So that could just be grass. All right, that was our 3 comparison sites. We looked at a road surface, we looked at the top of a hard surface, a hard cylinder, or a water storage tank, and then we looked at some vegetation and grass just for fun. And what we saw is the Riegl was around 3, at most 5 centimeters, and the LiVOX, LiAirV, was somewhere around 7, 8 centimeters in accuracy. So that being said, accuracy goes to the Riegl. You would expect that. You're paying so much more money for it. But still, the LiAirV did really good. Now to the fourth and final criteria of our contest here of the 2 LiDAR drones, and that's the overall operability and flight performance of the 2 systems. So the M600 with the Riegl was an awesome system, awesome platform, lots of carrying capacity, but man, it's a lot of equipment. You got the big old boxes, you got a ton of batteries. So this took 4 flights. The M600 took 4 flights to do what the M210 did in 2 flights. The M210 requires 2 batteries per flight. The M600 requires 6. So this took 24 batteries, whereas this took 4 batteries. Now that's much better on 4 batteries. So batteries much better on the M210 than the M600. The overall operability, the M210 with the LiAirV did not have an internal battery inside the LiDAR system. So if you pull both batteries out, the whole system shuts down. You have to start over again. So hot swapping to continue doing missions is a little bit more difficult. Can be done, but you got to be more careful. Whereas the M600 with the Riegl miniVUX has an external battery power for the LiDAR, so you can pop the batteries out and hot swap and keep flying, keep the LiDAR going. So that's better here. The flight characteristics, this seemed to be pushing the limits of how heavy and actually kind of where the load of the weight was actually put on the drone. It's a little nose heavy, so when it took off, it kind of leaned forward, lurched forward. So it made it seem a little unstable, but still flew great, didn't have an issue. But in comparison to the M600, which had much more robust heavy lift capabilities, the stability seemed much better on the M600. So in overall operability, they were kind of the same to set up and start flying, get data, but the drone systems themselves are kind of the big difference here. And you're getting a much more robust, heavy lift, but bigger, more expensive. Well, actually the price is about the same for the 2 drones. So you're just getting a bigger system that can carry more, but takes a lot more batteries, smaller, more portable, more versatile. So in this case, if you're going to be doing a lot of these missions, the M210 is really a greater way to go. But if you need that heavy lift capacity, you need the M600. So on the 4th criteria, I'm going to say the winner goes to, well, it depends. Depends what you're doing. That's it. So there we have it. That was the competition of the 2 LiDAR drones, the M600 with the Riegl miniVUX versus the M210 with the LiVOX LiDAR sensor from GreenValley, competing head-to-head against each other in a real-world competition where we flew the exact same flight lines, the exact same everything, and compared the data sets. And we saw in the 4 different categories, the first category, how many points per square meter on a hard surface, the LiVOX won that competition. Second category, points per square meter on a vegetated surface, so underneath a bunch of vegetation. This was kind of a tie. It needs to be a little bit more done. Very impressed with how many points got out of the LiVOX, and the Riegl, well, it should be getting a lot of points for how much you pay for this thing. Kind of a tie. The third contest, the overall accuracy, the Riegl won that one hands down. 2 to 3 centimeters up to 5, whereas the LiVOX was getting about 5 to 8 centimeters accuracy, so a little bit more accurate on the Riegl, but this still has a lot of great accuracy to it, so still very impressed. And then on the fourth criteria, we have the overall operability and the drone system it flew on. The M210 and the M600 came down to, well, it depends. Well, so there you have it. That was the head-to-head LiDAR drone mashup competition from Indiana Drones. I hope you enjoyed the video. I love making it. And as always, like, subscribe, share the video. I hope to see you next time, and stay awesome, everyone.